Hi, I'm Kitty Felde. We continue our banned book series, airing episodes that feature books that have been banned or challenged someplace in the country. This week it's Veronica Roth's dystopian adventure, Divergent. Back in 2015, Ashland High School in Oregon banned Divergent because, according to the school's student online newspaper, the book, quote, shows a girl fighting against society which we do not want to strengthen. What do you think? We'll give a listen to our discussion of Veronica Roth's Divergent.
It's the book club for kids.
It's a book club for kids.
It's the book club for kids.
It's the book club for kids podcast.
Hi, I'm Kitty Felde. This week we venture into a dystopian universe created by writer Veronica Roth. Divergent is a tale about finding out where you fit in and whether you're brave enough to take a literal leap of faith.
If I don't do it now, I won't be able to do it at all. I swallow hard. I don't think. I just bend my knees and jump.
That's our celebrity reader, 2018 Ms. Senior California, and a familiar voice on KUNV, Rita Pardue. The book is a fan favorite, including our readers from Benjamin Trasker Middle School in Bowie, Maryland.
I really liked the book. I felt like every time I was going to keep reading it because it's like a page turner. You want to know what happens next. Is she going to survive? What's going to happen? Which faction's going to come out on top?
Writer Veronica Roth says you can thank a college education for the novel.
I got the inspiration for Divergent in a psychology class in college.
This is the Book Club for Kids, the podcast where kids talk about books. We'll tell you how you can be on the show a little later on, but first, let's meet our readers.
Hello, my name is Titus.
Hello, my name is Emily, and we're both students at Benjamin Trasker Middle School in Bowie, Maryland.
The book is Divergent. So what's the book about?
It's about a girl named Beatrice who changed her name to Trish. And she lives in a world where factions divide the earth, like people who blame certain problems for stuff to happen in the world. And she switches factions from the ones that her parent and her brother was in. And she goes to a faction named Dauntless, which is a faction of bravery. And it kind of changes her outlook on life, and her personality develops throughout the book.
Let's step back here and describe the world itself. Where are we? Are we in America? Are we someplace else? Are we in the future? How is it different than Bowie, Maryland?
Oh, yes, it's basically the future because they don't have Ferris wheels anymore. Like, Ferris wheels aren't even the same. The groups are different. So instead of we have now, how we still have wars and stuff, they don't have any of that. Like terrorism and stuff, they just divide into groups. So you could call it futuristic in a sense. They don't have any flying cars or anything. They still need roads, and they have cars, and there's still poverty in a sense. Nobody's really rich in a sense, but everybody has an equal chance to become something better than themselves originally.
Yes, in this book, the author Veronica Roth says that she set this in future Chicago, and there a lot of things like the trains and buildings are run down and broken. Some is new and some is old, and you see there's a wall around this entire area where they live. It's like they're in like a box, and the outside they don't know. That's the Dauntless' job, to protect them from outside or keep them in. Trish doesn't really know yet, and basically, this society is trying to be like an utopian society. It's trying to be a place where people can live in harmony and not have any war or anything bad happening. But the erudite people, they're power hungry and they want to rule it.
I guess you could say race isn't really an issue here. Let me rephrase that. They don't care about your skin color or your skin tone. It's just how you act, what you feel is on your outlook of life. So you have the different groups, like erudite was for selflessness. The erudites, they ridiculed them for their selfless beliefs where they shouldn't do anything for themselves but for others. And she was confused why her brother had joined erudite because they'd always berated their family and somebody that was close to them, so she never really understood at first. But still, how she developed herself, she wanted more bravery. She became stronger by joining Dauntless because at first she was frail and weak.
During the entire book, in the very beginning, she was very shy and she didn't know her purpose in life. Basically, she was like, I don't know, I'm selfless, but I'm not selfless enough to be an Ab Nation. So she switched to Dauntless because she wanted to try something new. And she often looked outside, back when she was still at Ab Nation, at the Dauntless who were brave and stuff, and she wanted to see how they live life. So she switched there, and while she was there, she met a guy named Four, and they really bonded, and he was her instructor on initiation. Initiation is how you get to become a full member of the faction.
Let's hear about that initiation where our heroine takes that first step into the unknown, literally. Our celebrity reader is Rita Pardue, an on-air personality at KUNV in Las Vegas.
You want us to jump off the ledge? Asks an erudite girl. She is a few inches taller than I am, with mousy brown hair and big lips. Her mouth hangs open. I don't know why it shocks her. Yes, Max says. He looks amused. Is there water at the bottom or something? Who knows? He raises his eyebrows. The crowd in front of the initiates splits in half, making a wide path for us. I look around. No one looks eager to leap off the building. Their eyes are everywhere but on Max. Some of them nurse minor wounds or brush gravel from their clothes. I glanced at Peter. He is picking at one of his cuticles, trying to act casual. I am proud. It will get me into trouble someday, but today it makes me brave. I walk toward the ledge and hear snickers behind me. Max steps aside, leaving my way clear. I walk up to the edge and look down. Wind whips through my clothes, making the fabric snap. The building I'm on forms one side of a square with 3 other buildings. In the center of the square is a huge hole in the concrete. I can't see what's at the bottom of it. This is a scare tactic. I will land safely at the bottom. That knowledge is the only thing that helps me step onto the ledge. My teeth chatter. I can't back down now. Not with all the people betting I'll fail behind me. My hands fumble along the collar of my shirt and find the button that secures it shut. After a few tries, I undo the hooks from collar to hem and pull it off my shoulders. Beneath it, I wear a gray t-shirt. It is tighter than any other clothes I own, and no one has ever seen me in it before. I ball up my outer shirt and look over my shoulder at Peter. I throw the ball of fabric at him as hard as I can, my jaw clenched. It hits him in the chest. He stares at me. I hear catcalls and shouts behind me. I look at the hole again. Goosebumps rise on my pale arms and my stomach lurches. If I don't do it now, I won't be able to do it at all. I swallow hard. I don't think. I just bend my knees and jump. The air howls in my ears as the ground surges toward me, growing and expanding, my heart pounding so fast it hurts. Every muscle in my body tensing as the falling sensation drags at my stomach. The hole surrounds me, and I drop into darkness. I hit something hard. It gives way beneath me and cradles my body. The impact knocks the wind out of me, and I wheeze, struggling to breathe again. My arms and legs sting. A net. There is a net at the bottom of the hole. I look up at the building and laugh, half relieved and half hysterical. My body shakes, and I cover my face with my hands. I jumped off a roof.
Is this the kind of world you would like to live in?
That's kind of a hard question. At the same time, yes, but at the same time, no. Because for Dauntless's initiation, which I try to do, it's kind of dangerous. You have to jump onto a moving train and then jump off into a rooftop building, which in itself is very dangerous. And somebody actually in the book died trying to do that, and people failed the test and they automatically became factionless, which is the poor, basically. They work for food and clothing, and it's still not enough for either one of them. So, and at the same time, I would, because it would give you that type of thrill and it'd push you to be better than yourself. And if you look past yourself, it really reflects on who you truly are as your personality.
I would like to try and live, because in this modern day world, the world is large and stuff, but there's a lot of ridiculing people, their race, their gender, all these types of things, and it's very hard on people. And I feel like if we went into the factions, it might be easier, but it might also be very hard, because people might not want to, they might value kindness, but they might not want to stay living with people who like kindness all the time. And it might just feel like you've been living this one way and you might want to try other ways. So yes, it might be fun to try and live in a utopian society, but it also might get tiring after a while and kind of boring.
Well, which faction would you choose?
I would choose Dauntless. I wouldn't choose Abnegation because sometimes I can be pretty selfish because there's certain things I want. Like, I know when I order something off of Amazon, I want it the next day, not 3 days, not 5 days. I want it pretty soon. So I push myself to be better. And then they have Humanity. Like, I value kindness and I value treating people the way you want to be treated. But some people don't deserve kindness because some people don't treat others the right way. And then there is Candor, which you have to tell the truth all the time. There'll still be corrupt people that would live by those rules but bend them in a way that benefits themselves. So,
what would you choose?
Oh, I think I would be a divergent between erudite and amity, because I value education and science and knowledge, and that's why I like erudite. I mean, I enjoy learning about new things, and I think it's fun, but I also don't think that I would want to live with people who treat knowledge as if it's the only way to live. I think I would also want to join amity because the amity culture is like fun, being with people you surround by friends and family and having just fun and kindness in your life. And I think I would want both of those factors in my life. The rest of the factions, Dauntless isn't really my style. I feel like jumping off trains just because you can isn't really what should happen, because you might get hurt. Candor, I've got to tell the truth. I'm not a very good at telling the truth all the time, and I feel like people would just think that I wouldn't be a very good candor person. And Abnegation, I'm not very good at being selfless.
Well, did you like the book?
I did like the book. It's very, I guess you could say, interactive. It makes you feel like you're with that person, you're going along with them, because you know all of her thoughts, her feelings, how she feels about certain situations, what she'd do. And since she is divergent, she's different factions. So you're kind of like yourself, because everybody is different and they value many things, not just one thing in particular. Nobody's a robot that has one set course.
Yes, I did like the book. It was very fun. I think it was one of the best books I've ever read. This type of book is kind of my style, like futuristic fantasy but kind of real. I really liked the book. I felt like every time I was going to keep reading it, because it's like a page turner. You want to know what happens next. Is she going to survive? What's going to happen? Which faction's going to come out on top? You kind of want to know that kind of stuff.
Well, what other kind of stuff do you guys want to know? How about some questions for our author, Veronica Roth?
Where do you get your inspiration for writing?
I got the inspiration for Divergent in a psychology class in college. I was learning about exposure therapy, which is a method of treating anxiety and phobias, in which you repeatedly encounter the stimulus that provokes your fear in a safe environment so that your brain learns a healthier response to that stimulus. So I thought that the idea you could unlearn a fear by repeatedly encountering that fear was really interesting, and I wanted to sci-fi it up, I guess. So that's where the Dauntless came from in Divergent, and then the rest of the book proceeded from there, I guess.
I would like to know if you thought of this in like one night.
It's an interesting story. I thought of the idea when I was 18. The idea, the concept. But then the reason that I couldn't write it is because I didn't have character. And I tried to write a little bit of it, and it didn't really work, and I had a lot of homework to do. So I put it aside, and I only picked it up 4 years later when I was 22. And it was because I thought of the character to tell the story, who was Triss. I always think of the concept of sci-fi or fantasy story first, but it never takes shape unless there's compelling characters to drive the story. So it has to be character first. And the world building kind of unfolds around them. Like, what do they encounter? What struggles do they have? like those things find their way into the world building. So always character first.
What faction do you believe you would belong to, or would you be Divergent? Because originally I said I'd be Dauntless, but now I think about it, I might be Divergent as well, because there's different factors to me as well.
I think everyone is a Divergent, but you have to pick one. So I don't want to join any of the factions because they all sound terrible, especially the more you get to know them. But I think based on aptitude, I would probably choose abnegation. Seems like a good life, and there's an opportunity for a lot of freedom in that particular segment of society because no one is looking that carefully at you. And that's something that I explored a little in For, the Divergent collection of short stories. So.
Well, I guess we could describe it as a dystopian novel. And it's kind of a genre that's out there a lot. Any ideas why there are so many dystopian novels?
Because people think about the future. If we need the past to shape our future, but when you reflect on the past, there's a lot of heinous things that have happened in our past. So people try to move on and do better things. So instead of looking at the past, like having an old model of a vacuum cleaner, now we have the Roombas, which go around the room, clean your house for you, well, where they can get to and clean for you. People are always thinking about how they can make life better, how something can become better for somebody else, for themselves. And I guess it really pushes the plot. And people say, I'm kind of getting off topic, but it's a dystopian because people write dystopian novels because they really want to focus on the future. And the past is good, but they want to make something better, or they want to experience something better.
Well, let me just ask this, though, because things are hard in this world. Things are bleak, as you say. Nobody really has creature comforts. There's a lot of physical challenges, and people aren't particularly nice to each other. If you're not in your faction, or even if they're in your faction, they can treat you like dirt. So is it a good future? I mean, it doesn't seem to me like a very hopeful place to be, and yet you want to be there.
I mean, I guess it would entirely depend on who you interact with. So, like Trish, she interacted with Christina, she interacted with Will and Al, and they were all pretty good friends.
Well, I think people are looking at the world today and saying how things are just going to keep getting worse, and they're trying to think, well, in the future, what's it going to be like if we keep going down this road? How bad are things going to get? So they're painting a picture for you, basically, their idea of what might happen in the future. I think it might be the warning, like you need to fix this society now in order for this society not to become a possibility.
Well, what do you think the future is going to look like?
I think the future can have many different possibilities. If people learned to overcome racism, sexism, and ageism, and they learned to come together as one and seeing everyone as equals, then maybe there might be brighter hope for the future. But I feel like things might actually keep getting worse because there's so many people trying to make things better, but there's also equal as many people trying to make things worse. So things might get worse, but there's a small sliver of hope that it might be better in the future.
That's a very complicated question, to say the least. Because if we keep going how we are now with the environment, there'd be certain things that are much, much different. And maybe not for the better, maybe for the better. So how right now we have a problem with global warming, ice caps are melting. There may be a future where we have no ice caps, period. The mountains are barren, basically. Places like California will become complete deserts, no people will be able to inhabit them. But on the other hand, if we correct wrongdoings that we're making, we can limit problems. Because right now, the ocean has about 3 garbage patches, I believe, that are ginormous, size of Texas. And it would take collaborative effort and people to stop being so selfish. Because people nowadays are extremely selfish. I myself can be selfish because there's certain things that I want and there's certain things I feel I should be entitled to. And then there's things that I don't really need, but I still want. So that's selfishness. But in a sense, if people do come together as one and do the right thing and they're able to push to make a better world, the future would be good.
Let me ask you the hard question, which is, what is your favorite book?
A book that I was recently, that I thought was pretty good, was The Copernicus Legacy. It's a series of books. It's about a boy named Daryl and his brother and their dad and basically his stepmother. And they're going throughout the world looking for relics left by Copernicus, which he basically made a time machine. And he spread all the pieces throughout the world to protect them from the forces that were going to use them for evil, so they could change the world and make it in their own image, basically. So I thought it was pretty cool because it's showing what goes on behind the scenes. Really life. People were stressing about a test and they're stressing for their lives. So I like the series because they're traveling, they're trying to live life to the fullest, basically, but at the same time they're trying to protect one another and show they really care for each other. Even though they're not all blood related, it shows that they still have a bond and they treat each other as family, even though they're truly not family.
You need to read the Harry Potter series. It was the best series, I think. I mean, I watched all the movies. I have all the movies. I have all the books. I just think that the idea of the Harry Potter was very fun and good for all ages. I love it because a magical world would be so much more fun. You could levitate things, and Hogwarts would be an amazing place to go to school.
And you'd agree, Veronica Roth.
I mean, I am a huge fan of the Harry Potter books, so I feel like they've stuck with me the longest. I've reread them the most times, and the one that I loved the most of them was book 6, The Half-Blood Prince. So I guess that one, if I had to pick a favorite.
What about you, Rita Pardue? What's your favorite book?
The first book I ever truly fell in love with was a book called Charlotte's Web. My third-grade elementary school teacher, Mrs. Wilson, decided she was going to read a novel to us every day, and she would tell us about the adventures of this amazing spider and little girl. The way she told it just gave me such an appreciation for the spoken word. And one of the other things I should share with you is that as a child, I stuttered. My mother taught me a special technique about thinking first and then speaking. Looking back how reading affected my life, if I hadn't practiced daily reading out loud, I probably wouldn't be working in radio today.
We'll have a list of everybody's favorite book at our website, bookclubforkids.org. Thanks this week to producer Ilse Setziel. Jonathan Jensen composed our theme with additional music from Charles Nillman. Emma Steinkellner designed our logo. Thanks this week to our writer, Veronica Roth, and our celebrity reader, Rita Pardue. And thanks to our readers this week, Titus and Emily, and thanks to librarian Robin Jacobson at the Prince George's County Memorial Library in Maryland. This episode is funded in part by the Jack Kent Cook Foundation, dedicated to advancing the education of exceptionally promising students who have financial need, and by the Nora Roberts Foundation. Thank you. We have a free newsletter for teachers, parents, and librarians full of free tips about how to turn kids into lifelong readers. And you can sign up at the website, bookclubforkids.org. And by the way, the makers of Book Club for Kids have created a very different kind of podcast, a mystery series about the 10-year-old daughter of a congressman who solves those mysteries on Capitol Hill and teaches civics along the way. It's called The Fina Mendoza Mysteries, and it's available now for free wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Kitty Felde. Thanks again for listening.